Hey YouTube, in this video I'm going to be talking about how to fix uneven splits in the 400 meters. Specifically your 200 meter splits, not your 100 meter splits, because those aren't the main focus. The main focus would actually be on the 200s because of how you actually run a 400. The first 200 and the final 200 are the main parts of the entire race. Other than maybe the start, there isn't really anything else that you need to actually focus on a macro scale that you actually want to look at and fix. But before I go into how to fix uneven splits, this is pointless if you're slow. When I say slow, I mean for the 100 meters, if you can't run the 100 meter any faster than 11.5 or even around the area, there is no point in you actually watching this video. You can watch it for theory, but other than that, there isn't much point. Other than that, you should really just be focusing on max speed, max velocity workouts so you can actually get faster so that things can actually improve for you, because you're slow enough to the point where literally just getting a faster 100, which you can do quite easily, would be enough to cut down your 400 meter times. Now, if you was to get a faster 100 meters and your 400 meter times stay stagnant, now this is where the video would actually be useful and worth your time. Because if you're running 100 meters and let's say 11.5, most likely you're going to run each 100 meter split roughly 12.5 seconds, but let's say it is exactly 12.5 seconds because you're never going to run the 400, your fastest 100 meter time, you're going to be able to hold it. So just add on 1 second, generally 1 to 2, but let's just add on 1 second. This is the best case scenario. Times that by 4 for the entire 400 meters, and you're going to be running the 400 meter in 50 seconds. But this is best case scenario, obviously. So most likely, if you're running 11.5, there's a good chance you're going to be running the 400 slower than that, which is why it's much easier just to cut down 100 meter time and then you can improve. Because if you manage to get the 100 meter time down to 11 seconds, well then based off the same numbers, but again best case scenario, just like that you'll be able to run a 400 meter in 48 seconds. Obviously most likely not, because you are probably going to be slower than that, but best case scenario, and that's how fast you're going to run it. But if you are faster than 11.5 for the 100 meter and you do have uneven splits, and when I say uneven, I mean stuff like, let's say your best 200 meter is like 23 seconds and you have a 15-second 400 meter and your first 200 meter split is 29 seconds and then your final 200 meter split is well, the maths for that would be like 21. Actually, that doesn't even make sense, but you get the point. Like something really weird, it doesn't make sense for your times be like this. Let's say like 26, 24. So first 200 is 26, the final 200 is 24. Those numbers aren't really adding up because you're running the final 200 2 seconds faster than your first 200, and your final 200 is in pace for what you should have been running the first 200 if it's 24 seconds. Meaning you could probably run the entire 400 meters in about 48, 49 seconds, but there's something going on that's stopping you from running the 400 meter any faster. Generally, this tends to not so much actually be a lack of speed endurance and just not being able to hold your form for the entire thing, because most likely you can't, but it shouldn't be this bad. It's more you're limiting, letting your brain limit your effort for the first 200, and then for the final 200 you're like, I've gone through a lot, I can re-accelerate now, I'm really close to the end, let me just power through and get home. That's most likely what's happening, because usually when you run a 400, when you get to the 200 meter mark, you re-accelerate, but what's actually happening is you've slowed down and you're just getting back to the speed you were before. So if you used to look at your splits, most likely there isn't much of a difference between the first 200 and the final 200 in a really quality 400 meter race. And if there is a difference, it's usually not by much, which means because of this limiter your brain's placed on you for whatever reason, we're going to have to overcome this so that you can actually perform better. If the final 200 was the problem, then that's a really simple fix. Most likely your first 200 is way too fast, or maybe you are actually lacking the stamina to actually maintain the speed you're supposed to be able to maintain for the final 200, in which case you're going to have to fix that. Or it might just be you're too tense during the 400, you're wasting too much energy, in which case you're going to have to fix that too. But if the first 200 is the problem, then this is usually the easiest thing to fix, purely because mainly based off of limits in your mind, because there's no way you're running a really slow 400 and the first 200 is slow, and you did that on purpose. That doesn't normally happen. For example, for me, my official 400-meter time is like 55.80. Let's have it here somewhere. 55.87, and I had the same problem. The first 204 was done in about 30 seconds, and I closed it in like 25 seconds. My PB at the time for 200 was 20. Oh, it's not here anymore. I think it was 24:41, 42, something like that. So I literally had the exact same problem. And the easiest way to fix that is to understand that you need to do two things. First of all, you need to make the first 200 faster. Second of all, you need to relax more. I've actually tried many ways to try and break this 400. I've tried to go not all out, but basically all out from the gun, and then just try and close home in the finish. I've tried to repeat the same method I did by just basically just jog the first 200 and I sprint the final 200, and none of it worked, purely because even though the 400 PB still have, was really slow and the splits didn't make sense, the way I ran it, I was so relaxed to the point where I could literally just go for it at the end. For the final 200, I had so much energy, I could just blast home, which is why I was able to pull that off. Because based off of the times I was getting, I could probably have ran a 50, I want to say 50, no way, not 50, but 51, 52, but the PB stuck. It was my first race of the season, and I'd done many 400s for that season. This was 2 years ago, and I never beat it, not once. And the reason being is I wasn't relaxed in the other races, because I was like, okay, I should literally just be able to breeze through this, because every 100 and 200 meter race I ran the same season, I just broke PBs. So I was like, I should be able to do the same thing with the 400, but it wasn't happening. This is because I was too slow. My PB for the 100 when I ran the 400 was 12.2. Don't have an official PB now, but I'm much faster than that now. Which just goes to show, if you are slower, you should really be focusing on max speed. But a really easy way to fix this is, there's two main ways here. First of all would be 200 meter repeats. What's important isn't doing the 200 meter repeats, is how you do the 200 meter repeats. They're timed. You want to run the 200 meter repeats with, they're at 1 to 2 seconds slower than your personal best, and you want to generally do them with not a lot of rest, not too much rest. It's kind of speed endurance, but you're just trying to teach your body, okay, I need to go this fast, and then I've got to close afterwards. You can give yourself a decent amount of rest for at least 5 minutes, but you don't want to give yourself too much rest, because if you let yourself get back to how it was before you even started the workout, you might end up going, what's going to end up happening is you might end up going all out each race, and each run, and you don't want that. You don't want that, because in a real 400, your first 200 isn't going to be done all out. And if you really want to simulate the 400 as best as possible in this 200 meters, then I recommend you set up blocks and everything. You set up blocks at the finish line, and well, everything staggers, and you just go around 200 around the curve, and then you just the main focus here would be trying to get up to speed. This is what you want to practice with everything I give. Try and practice getting up to speed faster than the speed you normally get to, and then once you get there, just float and practice just tapping the ground and just maintaining what you have until you get to the 200 meter mark. The second one is again 200s, but it's actually a 400 meter. So the way you do it is you run a 200, you take a 30-second rest, then you run another 200, and the goal here is the exact same. You either go 1 second or 2 seconds slower than your 200 meter PB. Real easy. If this is your first time trying these, I recommend do 2 seconds slower than your PB, then work yourself down to 1 second, because these will be really intense. And these 200 meters, this final 200, but if you're doing an entire 400, you do 200 meters, 30-second rest, then 200 meters again. This time again, you take another 5-minute rest. You can take a slightly longer, I say 5 to 7, purely because you don't want fatigue to be the reason why you don't manage to get through the entire workout. You want it to be a lack of skill. Because if you don't manage to get within these 2 seconds for your PB, obviously you know something's wrong, you need to go faster. And the 200 meter repeats, you can take like 5-minute rest, like I said, but for the 400 meters in total, 200, 30 seconds, and 200 again, slightly longer rest, because you don't want fatigue to be the reason why, and lactate buildup to be the reason why you can't get through this. In my opinion, for both of them, I'd say do about 3 to 4. For the 400s though, I'd recommend just do 3, because This is quite intense and it's quite hard, and you're not, considering your 400-meter times, you're not used to this, so it makes more sense for you to just practice on your times themselves rather than trying to get through the workout, because this isn't, whilst it is accidentally speed endurance work, the main focus here isn't actually speed endurance. It's just on making sure that you're able to get these times. You want to know, you want to be able to get these times. For example, let's say your best 200 it was 23, using 11.5 thing again. So your best 200 was 23, meaning you're going to need to run these 200s in 24, 25. Let's say you do 24. I want you to know how it feels to run a 24-second with your form that's good enough to run a 23-second but slower, and whilst maintaining your form, so you can actually get through the other 200 without slowing down. That's the main focus here. I want you to know how it feels. If you don't know how it feels, how can you replicate that in a race? Which is the reason why your first 200 is so slow compared to your second 200. You don't know how a slower 200 feels within a close enough range of your PB. Because for example, if you're running like 24 and under, you know how a 30-second 200-meter feels. That's quite easy to replicate. You can get 28 to 20 to, you can get from within a 2-second variance of like 28 seconds to 32. But you don't know how it feels to run a 24 or 25 with the form you have that's good enough to run 23s, 22s. You need to practice that so your body knows how it feels, so it can maintain that in a race. And the second thing would be staying relaxed. And the third thing would be being able to maintain your energy and continue going through. When you know how that feels, you're going to perform much better in the 400. You don't even need to get faster. You just need to be more energy efficient and understand how to use what you have so you can perform better. There's no reason why someone who's running a 23 can't break 50 seconds, in my personal opinion. It should really be possible, because you just need to run a few, literally like a second or 2 seconds slower than your personal best for the 200, and a sub 50 is basically guaranteed. So understanding how that feels, practicing getting up to speed, floating while staying relaxed, maintaining your speed and not over pushing is one of the few easy ways you can do, things you can train to try and break your 400-meter personal best and get under 50 seconds if you haven't already. If you like my video, like the video, let me know in the comments section below. Check the description, because anything I forget to say in the video, I always put in the description. And if you like my content, subscribe. Helps the channel out a lot. I post every 2 days at 1 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. If you don't know when that is, just hit the bell and then you'll be notified instantly.